How y'all doing out there? A little minor technical issue, but I think we're okay. So, all right. I think we're good. Hopefully we are. By the way, my name is Rich Millet. Oh, and we have our theme song. How slick is that? The Rich Millet Singers. My name is Rich Millet. This is the quarantine stream. Hopefully, the connection issues have been figured out because it was a little weird. So hopefully we're good. Be really nice if we were. So, but yeah, my name is Rich Millet, and you know, in the interest of I don't know, in the interest of self promotion, if you go to fluxlifeinc.com, if you at all like what you hear here, fluxlifeinc.com has all my books. Links to all my books. Everything's for free, just like this, and all the films that I made, lots of them, ton of content. You can ride out the next month of lockdown, and it'll just whiz by like, you know, it'll whiz by like you created just a perfect little island away from all of this madness. And it is madness. I guess it's actually fairly reasonable, but you know, people are gonna be persnickety. All right, so this is from a book I put out last year. Very fond of it. It's called, the book is called, what is it? The Female Perspective. And, well, you know, I'll explain for a second why it's called The Female Perspective. And I hate to say this, but I will, because we're old friends by now. The reason I called it The Female Perspective was sort of a litmus test of the audience, because there's no characters in it that where there's any you know, there's no specific female characters, there's no specific male characters, there's no specific anything characters, and I thought it would be interesting if I called it that and put it out there into the world, and people would go digging for clues as to how dare I write about the female perspective, and like they can't find anything, they can't find any sort of like subliminal commentary, and so I thought it would be kind of like designing a maze where there's no way out. I thought it would be funny to call it that. So the artwork and the content and the back cover, everything has nothing to do with the title of the book. So it was like a little joke. And just to see if people would get that it was like a little joke. The content and the artwork is not at all a joke, however. So anyway, this is called Flowers at the Foot of the Cave. Swinging light bulb above a cracked basement window, a painting depicting the creation of creation, and a makeshift bed. I made up a new name for you that I'll only keep in my head. My head. Look at the jewel resting in the bottom of the wooden cup, or the stack of handwritten sheets explaining the steps of the ritual in rich, deep red, and the names of everyone there exist in my head. Charcoal renderings of saints ripped from a magazine and pinned to the door, dented bits of metal shaped to make a mosaic and pushed into the floor. Quarter-inch thick spray-painted silver ribbons, looped like ringlets in the air, and the floating stray white veins from a feather landing on your hair. Here I sit half childish, with freshly washed clothes strewn over the chair. A tray with orange peels, melon rinds, and empty glasses rests balanced on the table's edge, while I'm reading a map leading to a room more colorful than the womb, where I can overhear things other than gurgling and organs rushing. But still, this will always be in its infancy, because love is where Genesis greets infinity, and for proof you can look in my eyes, even though I won't confirm or deny how much of this is true, but I trust that will get worked out by you. Thank you. I'm going to read two from a book I did in 2012. I read a endless one last week from this book that I'd never read before, and I don't know that I'll ever read it again. I don't know that it really read very well, which is unfortunate. I think it works perhaps just on the page, and perhaps it should be left there. So. I'm just scrolling looking for it. So just so you know, I don't actually, one of the reasons I don't respond to comments is, or anything, is number one, I don't want distractions, but number two, I'm not looking at myself looking in the camera or anything. I pull up all my books and I just read straight from them. So yeah, I had an idea a couple weeks ago, why the fuck did I say that? A couple hours ago. I know the difference between weeks and hours. Anyway, and I thought it would be cool to read, like, do a couple sort of themed episodes, because I haven't really done that. Last week had a theme, but no one would ever know what it was. And the first couple were just totally freeform. But I thought it would be interesting to do a couple themed episodes. So I'll be doing that, and I won't be reading off the computer, because it would be stuff that's not on the internet. Hard to believe. No digital footprint. Anyway, this is from 2012. It's called A Moderate Man. Actually, before I read this, I have to say, I read this one after I didn't do readings for a little over a decade, and when I started, I had created all this material that I had never read and that no one had heard, and I'd been putting books out the whole time. But it was funny to read certain things, and people would applaud, and I couldn't understand, and I'd never had this problem before, but not that it was a problem, but I couldn't figure out for the life of me what they were applauding at, because it just seemed strange to me. And I just thought, oh, well, they're being polite. And this is one of the ones that it's very curious to me when it gets applause. Anyway, this is called A Moderate Man. I went walking through the morning to enjoy the autumn air, and I came upon a clearing. Some folk from in town greeted me graciously as they stood waiting. Frank then strode into the center of the circle with 3 men by his side. Frank abruptly unfolded his note and started speaking. The 3 men reshaped in a line behind Frank as his inimitable voice intoned, quote, "Men in masks shall not live on your land, for they are cowards whose spirits are trapped. Thou art born without caste. Your soul is unshared, your judgment shall not be passed or carried out by committee on your quiet acts." Frank, flanked by the 3 men, then swiftly left while the crowd collectively shuddered. There were mutterings of, again, quote, "What Frank giveth doth not equal what he takes. Heart of fowl, eyes of a snake, words of an apostate." Quote. I followed the trail back to my home whilst conversing with Pastor Corbett. Upon reaching my front gate, he looked at me square in the eye and said, again, quote, "Just because I am prone to help my neighbor in good faith, family or friend, that doth not make." And then this is something of the opposite. This is called Silver Lace, and it's for uh, this is for Mark. Silver Lace. Never let it be said that the book won't be read, or that the candlesticks will be thrown out. That's like asking about your blankets and what became of them. Were they left in an alley or boxed and lent to a friend? Never let it be said that the chickens won't get fed, or that the evening coffee will run cold. That's like thinking the traffic lights will never turn red, or that the wire will run out before you get to return home. I'm looking at a book of photographs by Robert Frank, size cut in half. Some maps people never thought to make, some paths people never thought to take. When Berkeley was originally settled, the center of town was marked with a church and a bank. Some people never think to give thanks, or wonder if they may be wrong. I still have the cassette you made, decorated with black magic marker and duct tape, though the sound cuts off in half the songs. Never let it be said that your sister will stay unwed, or that the scissors are no longer sharpened. That's like thinking the sun will never outshine the moon, or that the heat of the spring only lives in the swell of the afternoon. I think that's pretty good from that one. And we'll throw another one in. This is also from 2012. This is from a short book I did. This is, I've never read this before, so we'll see how this goes. This is called Remember. Just 200 miles from where I used to live were the lakes and legends, afternoons crawling the canal, running in circles, scaling fences. Coming home curfewless, lying in bed stretching, your arms in front of your face, fingers making shapes out of the light, album covers on the wall next to calendars with modern art. Do you remember when we used to work together? We went to the swimming pool and recorded the kids laughing, splashing around to use in a sound collage. Those kids are grown up now. We went to the quarry and watched the slabs of rocks being hauled away by trucks. We'd stay and talk until the time silenced our throats. Those rocks are buildings now. Do you remember when we used to work together? We used to never worry about money, only if there was enough to have fun for the week. Sometimes I think we can be there again. The band played No Side to Fall In, and you clapped and sang along. I used the same words the next night, and you said I was wrong. Do you remember when we used to work together? Standing in your mom's house, her pizza cooling in the kitchen, your hair and clothes a ragged curtain, playing your guitar, glorious crystalline shards. You asked me to write a brass score. I figured it couldn't be that hard. Do you remember when we used to work together? And that was for George. Hell, let's keep this going. That's interesting. This is from a book I did called Oranges. This came out in, I'm going to have a sip of water. This came out in 2008. I worked on it throughout the end of 2007. And if you feel so inclined, you should go to fluxlifeinc.com and look up Oranges because the artwork is extraordinarily beautiful. My ex-wife Liz did an unbelievable job with the photography. It's one of the most beautiful things like that I've ever seen. So yeah, we spent like a lot of money. We spent like $400 to buy everything that's in the photos. So in the end, it was very worth it though. Took fucking forever to set up. It was a really beautiful experience. So hopefully, she is still doing photography because she was really good at it. Anyway, This is called Earl Wrote This for Tobi. This is Earl Topman, who was a very good friend of mine. So, and Tobi being Tobi Vale. So. Wrap my hair in a shawl, sitting deep in fall. My hands are cold and my knuckles look old, just like yours. The YMCA and Beautiful Day Records, walking through Lyons, walking through Brookfield, on our way to the music loft, my creaking guitar case, lots of snow. Silent, fierce, and you were fully formed, the wisest without makeup, without intimidation, scratching carbon paper, telegraphing to the park. The swings are ours, lots of rain. Dyeing your hair, black lipstick again. You wrote and I read every word, and it all made sense. Still does. My fingers got dark from the ink, vegan Rice Krispie treats I'd never eat, and between afternoon and evening, it got very solemn. We love ridiculing it. The crane lamp over my bed when the depression would end, going to sleep excited for the next day, completely calm, knowing we were special. Waiting for a ride. We evaporate, we exaggerate. They'll never really fully understand. They didn't even like our band. So, since I'm naming names, that's also John Kozlik owned the Music Loft. I think he still does. God bless him. And there was a little bit of a Beth in there. So for anybody that remembers Beth, she's been gone for a long time. And let's see. It's interesting to go through this. Hopefully it's interesting for you. If it's not, find something else. Lots of stuff out there on the internet. Enjoy yourselves. Oh, this is interesting. We could do that. I'm just randomly opening books. Oh yeah, we could do that. I was going to do a bunch. I did a book in '97 called Political Glitter. I was going to do a bunch from that today. And it's sort of looking like that might not happen now. I think I've read most of it, though, perhaps. Anyway, this is, I read this one last week. I'm very proud of it. And it kind of goes along with this whole business. So this is, fuck it. We're going to do two from that book. This is from Tracy the Dim Signal. This is from 2003. It's one of my personal favorites. It's called Wildflowers. I definitely have never read this before. Wildflowers. Hear the church bells toll. Wildflowers. See the new trains roll. Up on the hills is where they grow. Children eat them quietly when the summer nights get slow. Betty put a few in her satchel and said a quick prayer. Martin picked one for his hat and smelled the lilac air. Wildflowers on a xylophone roll, slowly dying off in the cold. Their hearts were sweet, the breath never ending. He proposed and said it was only the beginning. She cried and answered with a yes, and he pinned one of the wildflowers to her chest. And this is dedicated to Mara. It's called Last Night We Saw an Angel. I read this one last week, too. Last night we saw an angel, the most beautiful woman alive. I've never seen anyone more graceful. She conducted every sound in flight. Last night we saw an angel. She tiptoed across our hum. She exercised her will. She made the light move faster from the sun. Last night we saw an angel, the most beautiful woman alive. She stopped the pageant and calmed the lightning in the sky. There's one from that book that I really would like to do, but it was handwritten, and it's called My Feelings Are Starting to Merge, and it's handwritten, and I purposely wrote it to be obscured, and I had various reasons for doing that, and um, I need to find the actual text because I can't read my own handwriting. So, which again, at the time that was by design, but. This is from Statements, Anti-Statements, which came out, I think, in 2011. This is called Horse. Let's share the silence while everyone's absent, with the electricity out. It's unknown if the edges can be seen. Thin line. Take your clothes off and find if you're purple. Supine. Time to get reserved by disengaged, dreary people. I'm optimistic enough to whisper in your ear, vanish into the walls, and watch you walk to the chair. Let's share the silence, test the power of my stare, and the limits of your willingness, then pretend we're unaware when you stand in front of the mirror and all the stringent reasons why you're really here. I'm clear enough to stand near the back, not against your thigh, to avoid glancing at your eyes. Let's share the silence, ease into your patience, measuring what each instant takes, seconds after the temperature breaks, and staying anxiously awake while the next 7 minutes and advanced into minute facets, slipping across conjoined elements. I'm open enough to adjust the embryo window, tight your spine, your consent, tighten your spine, your consent, the tension kept sacrosanct. It's a shame I mangled that. Oh well, I got sort of carried away. Oh, looks like we got all sorts of fucking problems over here. Huh. Hopefully this is going well. Huh? Hopefully. Terrifying. Yeah, hopefully looks like we're having all sorts of issues. All right. I was having issues earlier today, so this is from Political Glitter. This is called 1+1. I'll say a little bit about this since I'm saying things. Uh, I wrote this. I carried this poem around in my head for like 2 months. I thought about it a lot, and I wrote it one day at the Westchester Library in like 2 seconds. Not really, but I wrote it in like 20 minutes. And it's just so funny to carry something around and it's in your mind. And that's this thing that you think about, and it's kind of your deepest private thoughts, you know. The title, I don't think I've ever mentioned this. The title is the name of a Godard movie, which I hadn't. I think I'd seen a really bad VHS copy. I think it was probably the first Godard movie I ever saw, and I wound up. Now I own like, fucking 20 copies of it. So anyway, this is called 1+1. Hopefully this is not getting too mangled. That'd be a shame. Anyway, already cleared toward the light, already prepared for existence and time. 7 times belonging to a cosmic happening, 7 times occurring for what's already there. It's a pin-step balance already in place, without having to chant or petition for deliverance. Already inside your mind is what's real, already away from a one-note idol, already tested under the subconscious. Everything you know will eventually be revealed. And I'm going to read one that I definitely have never read before. This is from Your Future, Your Freedom. This is called Renaissance. We'll see how this one goes. Celebrate the Silver Age, the wonderful dawn, the dust from space, the transparent page, the grasp of discipline, possibilities unbound by definition, the reach of purposeful disassociation. The Silver Age, the cyclical start, the anti-doom, antidote to negation, and cynicism cloaked as intelligence, and laziness stealing from experience. The Silver Age, wisdom without citing a reference, ideation from the singular source, the interior physics married to open perception, divorced from pre-existing belief systems. Celebrate the Silver Age, the transfiguration of time made clear in the present, the gift of interdependent contexts, in the spirit of enthusiastic creation, leaning on the curve and leaving a set of fingerprints superimposed, adding another angle to the environment. Wound up being much better than I thought it would be. I was worried about that one. Looks like fucking max headroom when I do look at the camera. Oh, it makes me nervous. All right. This is it's called Virgin Prairie, and my father spent a lot of time in and out of nursing homes and physical rehabilitation facilities in his later years, and I was visiting him one night. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and visiting hours were over, that sort of thing. And I started thinking about this while I was walking to my car. It was snowing. It's called Virgin Prairie. Laying straight and still, staring down at rivulets filled with flattened cicada shells. Waiting at dusk, watching people across the field try and weave a blanket from ashes, matted branches, and damp grass. But I barely care. I am distracted by the voices echoing over the horizon. Voices I listened so hard to. One sounded like a melting telephone. One sang like typewriter keys. Another rang like a confused bluebird and is since locked in my memory. I tried to find where on the prairie I could sleep. At daybreak I was woken by voices that waved in thin air like film, projected on fog. Voices that hovered like an underexposure on a robin's wing. I searched my thoughts, hoping to realize which voices I took for granted, the ones that only appear every other year. I got lazy and lost intervals of hours staring at the sun circling in the sky. I got confused and gave incorrect directions to a couple of asking backpackers. I got angry about heredity and when carelessness intertwines with chronology. I could not control my shaking limbs or the sweat on my forehead. I needed to tend to my health. I needed to walk steadily without help. I needed to make a fire and learn to stop time. I needed to be the watch one has to wind. Do a few from Citizenship. We'll do 2 Franciscan Nuns. I think have I read this at every single one? I might have. Who knows? And hopefully this is going out into the world. Good Lord. Chewing mint leaves while crossing the Calumet River. The paper mill's exhaust pipes interrupt the vista. Mules waited with surge protectors, hairspray, and cassettes. A riverboat of morphine-addicted ghosts on the left. 2 Franciscan nuns wanted to build a hospital, but settled for organizing games of chance in their hotel rooms. They squeeze out extra acidic orange juice and excommunicate people with unpleasant names from the phone book. 2 Franciscan nuns helped decorate an admiral in the pensioner's home after he'd misplaced his uniform. They blessed his pills, kissed his parakeet, and as he slept, gathered sets of his false teeth to sell at the swap meet. A brain with blood and oxygen is better than a fish who talks. Oh, yes, truly. What some people see as skin discoloration is, in fact, the natural pigmentation when viewed from inside. Some newspapermen have always known this and have nothing to hide. All right, we're going to come back to that one because I'm very fond of it. I realized I did a book in 1999 called Fear that I'm extremely proud of. And I realized that I haven't read anything from it. So, I'll do a couple from this one. And you'll appreciate this, Van, if you're out there. I think you are. This is called Joel Hodgson's Blues. Oh, I'll say something about this one. Joel Hodgson, if you don't know, was the original host of Mystery Science Theater, which was a big deal in my young life. Anyway, that and Kids in the Hall. Anyway, Joel, I wrote this poem about him, and I had this thing back then where I would think of an idea and then I would purposely forget it, and then I would remember the idea but forget how it went, and then I would force myself to remember it, and I would think that is sort of an editing process. It's like a subconscious editing process, and this was one that the whole poem was written that way, not just like a line or two. And many years later, I actually found the entire original thing. I didn't realize that I'd saved it, and it was very odd to compare the two things. Anyway, I like watching the movies. I like watching all the old movies. I guess most people don't like watching the movies, but I like the movies. Most people like the movies, and the things he said at the movies were funny. He made movies better to watch. But he didn't want to talk to the movies anymore. I guess it just stopped being fun for him. He didn't want to be on television or sign any more contracts or get any new sponsors. He didn't want to talk to the movies. And the robots couldn't make it better, and the station change couldn't make it better. So he didn't say his jokes at the movies anymore. Where are you, Joel Hodgson? Doing magic tricks in the Midwest? Where did Joel Hodgson go? The funny things he said at the movies gave us perspective, and we all need perspective, and we need people to tell us their perspective because it can help with our perspective. But sometimes the people that we need to give us perspective can't give us perspective. And maybe having to give so many people perspective made the movies less fun to watch, and even the robots couldn't help. Where are you, Joel Hodgson? Fishing in Minnesota or living off royalties in the outback? This has been Joel Hodgson's Blues. This has been the blues of Joel Hodgson. And this is called Powder Blue. God damn, it's glitchy. Max Headroom, baby. All right. It's called Powder Blue. This is also from Fear. The air is right. My eyes are clear. I'll talk to you on the phone every night for the rest of my life. The air is right. It's perfect and blue. I won't try and talk for you. I wouldn't try and talk for you. I can listen to your stories. I'll sleep tomorrow. I'll sleep tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. But right now, I will listen to your stories. And by the way, for anyone who has really sharp ears, they will realize that that quotes one of the greatest movies ever made, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. So, a clue for you all, huh? It's called Apples. I've never read Apples before. It's from Radar Grain, and I'm very fond of this one. Very fond of the entire book. Turned out really well. Anyway, here we are. Apples. I went to the penitentiary to apply some ministry. I hitched past the cobblers and said no sale to the merchants. Once past the gate, I placed my cross on the desk and turned to face the inmates of the colony. I read them Ecclesiastes the first pages of Revelations and answered their questions. Upon returning, I sat in my cabin and unraveled the head I kept with me. It was around 15 pounds. The first camera ever shown to me had been used during my mother's autopsy. My mother was a woman of unshakable faith, part of a tradition that no longer exists. She found a kind word for everyone, made clothing for the members of the council, and she'd levitate when we sang Onward Christian Soldiers in the barnyard. We'd go in there after dark, drink molasses, and tighten the wiring on the man we were constructing. The choir would pound on the floorboards while we hammered. After screaming the word of God, my mother would say, "Oh, son, all that chrome is going to sail someday." We were bound to make that metal man fly before anyone else claimed the rights. I built the heart, John built the lungs, my wife fed us with milk and butter, while my sons made skin from our pigs who'd been diseased that summer. After helping nail spikes in the railroad, I preached against frivolity. I was approached by men who shook my hands and gave me thanks. They were ironmongers who'd cast muscles for our man and build us a proper church. Months later, all the strands had been lost. We were forced to sell our coal for less than we'd paid. We were destitute, calling for mercy to keep away the natives and to save our ways. We resettled west of the mountain plains after months of wooden wheels breaking and cattle dying. The metal man had been taken apart and used to build shelter. It was some night around the campfire, and we sang songs and ate steaks scraped with iron, that the flames started shaking and turned into blood. We looked down at our plates and saw our food become rust. A thunderbolt clapped, and we all fell still. In the morning, we saw brass and gold chips where the fire had been. We saw the privileged conditions of the bankers' houses looted empty. We knew the guiding hand had started the end of their Babylon, and we rejoiced, like when the angels with breastplates of fire descended, and when the locusts were licking the wolf-head jaw. I ran my teeth till the enamel was peeled off, on the apple stem covered in ants, the same ants crawling over the cemetery. I need a burial at sea, no clauses, no wills, just a boat to be thrown out of. I submit to carbon and salt. They can attach a camera to my body and lance treasure with a harpoon. The apple stem, like the spike of toxins in a blackhead, or the sun landing on a city block. Flower stems have no lifespan and won't live through a flood. Apple stems are stronger than a panther spine and protect the seeds from burrowing all the way down to the earth's core next to the devil's hand, who sucks the juice out of the skin and tried to rip the apple stem with a hatchet. The apple stem isn't burdened by the seasons or burned by foul. The apple stem rots when bruised, gets carved into headboards, and disintegrates in sulfur. I can't be decorated with 2x4 effects. I've seen the citizens stomp, making their ribs stop. I've seen oxygen get released over clouds, forests, and police. See a clearing, where the sharp aluminum formed our fossils, buried standing up, past the buildings that store 1,000,000 bushels of wheat. See the ashes on the bunkhouse, underneath sticks and twigs with the Indian gum picked out. See a clearing, sewing all the skirts at the end of the porch near the river for the blue ribbon winner. See a clearing for the prince of the Mayflower. Not bad, not bad. Glitchy as hell, Max Headroom. Unbelievable. I hate it. No fun, baby. No fun. I don't want to read anything from coming out. I thought about it. Fuck that. I will read Fingerhouse. Where should I go? Empty and without suggestion. Dry bathtub, antiseptic self, turquoise pottery carefully washed, not included in collection debates, and can catalog itself. A black and white television crackling on the last analog signal. transmitting drip brush pixelation to friends who have never met before dawn with unbent antennas and tinfoil knobs. No larger connection and no network without notice or critical thought. Pure broadcast. Where should I go? To a cricket's lake, where Mona Lisa and George Washington's faces urgently run by on filmy soap transfers until they burst into digital diagonal scribbles that shock sleeping bluebirds and hunting robins, where austere diagrams of skeletons are traced into colored chalk onto trees and oil sticks litter the walkways, where oysters recover jewelry fallen overboard and forgotten, where flashlights find glimpses into windows and fluoride is poured into jugs of cola. Where should I go? With a shopping bag full of batteries, returning a stolen bike to its parent company, walking in between unclean delivery trucks in need of repair while raw-toned steel whistle air floats on wisps of strawberry hair, and accelerated voices in nonsensical 10-second annoyances, a magician perfecting an illusion which ends with them curling up and sliding down a tree, then pretending to be asleep while assessing what the crowd seems to think. Then a throne is carried on, seating a man in a parchment crown and wrapped in beach towels. Where should I go? Into a kitchen with aluminum knives and nurses in white, lab coats and blue rubber gloves, rolls of tissue paper, and unfolded t-shirts and personalized engraved nameplates. Where should I go? Knees to the chest laying on the cool ground, scissors, heels pressed together, toes forward to the sun, back to the cool ground. Where should I go? Knees to the ground, a pair of scissors sparkling, oxygen fits, a pair of scissors laying on the cool ground, knees slightly spread apart, maintaining protein, scissors sparkling, and sun today, muscles to minutes, continuously resting on the cool ground. Sometimes I don't remember what. Ah, here we are. Sometimes I truly do not remember what books I put what poems in. And it's slightly embarrassing to say that out loud. I was going to read this one last week and I didn't, so I think it's time to do it. This is called Milky Skies. Hopefully we're still glitching. Pretty annoying, huh? All right. It's called Milky Skies. For 3 weeks, I've seen the sky as one color stretched over a muted spectrum, and I've heard tiny handbells clang at irregular intervals. Without forethought, I was in a state of unstable concentration, with my sense of decency tested. I stared at celeste-covered veins and remembered how they were made. I was reminded of the worm, thankful to be placed back in the dirt after suffering a 2-inch gash on its side from careless shoveling. The youngest lady stops weeping and waiting and steps into invisibility, her velvet-lined pockets filled with small wreaths of braided blue stems. While embarrassed at how much she once admired her mother's brooches, she now fully blushes at her wish to own an ocean full of stone. Her friends repeatedly requested questions only furthers her hesitation, so she leaves a small note of explanation. Life is grossly inelegant in its demands that one must impatiently forget chores performed with red impressions left intact from knots affixed to ankles and wrists as if the sores never existed. Shock of copper curls cerulean halos in his eyes, considers his environment, and with his shoulders pinned back adjusts his balance and stands straight up in his raft. The one idea that has possessed him so vanishes out from his mind, pierces the sea, then its velocity escapes gravity and reaches away past the sky. But he fears no lack of purpose or whether this time has been meaningless. He has total devotion to the base truth of his vocation. His ankles give way and he falls back gently, lands on his hands while some water splashes in. He considers those who would deride his actions and thinks, I don't require any clothes. I'd rather remain naked for everyone. I felt watched when I first voluntarily gave away confidential information, then tried to explain the layout of San Antonio to a stranger who never knew I'd never been there before. And now, as minutes become limitless, any vows I made always sustained me. I felt watched when my thinking was clean and capable of strict reasoning, and I rode along freshly painted runways, left notes on license plates, brambles, and high chairs, and now, as lassitude disintegrates, any vows I made remain unchanged. I felt watched when my legs were bathed in a heat as persistent and unruly as a bat taunting a seal, repeatedly landing on its shoulder and squealing. And now, as fury impassively fades, any vows I made could never break. I felt watched when I attended 10 drawing classes and attempted to finish a full circle freehand without interference between thought and motion. And now that my hands are patient, any vows I made are everything. Here she flies, and now we know if the promises made more than 10 years ago have been kept. Here she flies with 2 pens, a rosary, brass paperweight, earrings, locket, and measurements written on a business card. Here she flies, gums and hair receded, a miniature brace for a baby wrapped in grayed, hardened plastic. Here she flies with an oxygen tank bubbling ceaselessly, a UHF channel on the television showing old westerns silently. Here she flies while I stand with tentative confirmation, a glass of thickened water, and 3 empty white boxes. Here she flies, with skin like marble over winding staircases, and rooms with seafoam colored walls and intimidating machinery. How are we doing out there? Still glitchy, huh? I don't see that changing, unfortunately. Looks like we're not going to get to Blue Scepter today. Instead, we're going to do people. This is from Radar Grain. If anybody, since I've been naming a lot of names today, does anybody remember John Walker Lind? I need to look up whatever happened to him. Anyway, this was initially written about John Walker Lind. It's called People. I am a young man, closed off in this room. My name, it doesn't matter. Where I'm from, I can't tell you. I always wanted to control my destiny, not share responsibility, so I could be free. They sent me off to college so I could learn the law. I met a lot of people, each one with a different cause. I turned myself to physics and astronomy to see if I could throw away the seeds they'd put in me. I drifted down to the south and I saw it was vast. I memorized equations on the eyeless ending sand. I knew that my superiors, they were very strong. They would put me up in space and never steer me wrong. But my expectations didn't fly. They kept me on the ground. The paperwork was drafted and I was shown around. They checked my past for arrests. My retinas were scanned. I hoped that there would come a day where I could take command. They made me go and lock the doors and cue the landing lights. It was a secret mission in the middle of the night. The burners started blaring. I crawled inside my suit. I knew I wouldn't come back, even if they asked me to. I am a young man closed off in this room. My name, it doesn't matter, and where I'm from, I can't tell you. I always wanted to control my own destiny, wanted to go and vanish up in the slipstream. The emperor looked at the head of the horse, lifted his hand and picked out the brain, opened his mouth and smeared the remains. He dressed his servants as nymphs and pans. Little boys in the nude stayed in the pool to bite on his body while he swam. His sister said, "If a breath is a blade, then desire's the cage. Claim your birthright before you're saved." Had his mother killed, made it a crime to laugh. Attack the statue whose clothes matched his own, his bleeding fists sunk into the gold. He memorized the lives of the gods. Jezebel stole him a tunic. He began planning his burial, and at night he debated with Jupiter. He saw Palatine Hill. The volcanoes were calm before the Christians burned. Diamond-tipped shovels were used to pierce the columns and arches, jewels and violins. The violins on Palatine Hill played like birds colliding in the air. The torches flared. All the grain was set flowing. The senator's body rolled back on the sheets, his speech like a paused spasm, murmuring, I'm nursing a viper. The rest of the ward willingly succumbed immediately. In the middle of the gymnasium were booths with men in bulletproof vests giving out ballots and voluntary vaccinations to guard against contaminants, while in line you could read pamphlets on the issues or flip to pictures of festering boils. It's slippery and strange to walk alone. Sealed lips will keep the borders closed, and no infestations will travel north. Nothing to arrest security, just a cure to keep people in the grasp of liberty. The medicine was made with pearls dissolved in vinegar. The choice was made by pulling the lever. The searchlights were made for us by the protector. A thief entered. Everyone was roused. The wife and kids looked at the head of the house. He opened his robe and threw a small bomb. Later, standing over the intruder's body, he thought through history and spoke his favorite quote: I want him to feel like he's dying. Free grain for everyone who asks, free grain for everyone who enters. Wheat in exchange for marble, wheat for the state. She takes the leather, squirms in the saddle. The dust closes her eyes. I could see the red jacket from here. Two girls climb the stairs, very poised and aware. They'd been here before, the Los Angeles smog against their backs. Two men arrive the next morning to drop off a pair of glasses and smear the window pane. The teenager can't make a sale, so he packs up his stereo equipment and his clock radio, exits past the telephone pole. When they were done, they sat in the kitchen, carved up some watermelon. An hour later, they threw away their clothes. Young man in the backyard doesn't know he's there, taking a drink from the garden hose. Drops his flashlight on the ground. He dropped his flashlight on the ground. Do a few more, huh? Glitch. Do a few more. Hopefully this is going out into the world in some capacity. It's called Jade. Winter went without finale, one brain with seagull emeralds and a chop of jade thicker than my wrist. Glancing became the transmission, like a doorbell whistling in a veterans parade. So behind the minute hand extends more than obligation and demands more than devotion. Passion is 10,000 tiny cuts so untraceable they dye emotions without ever gracing the surface. Lightning travels celebrations and standing full face toward the stark light and thin wire sword play. Who's been staying in this bed, one without articulation, tempo, and psychic extrapolative hysterics? At the break I am pacing, ignorant to stillness, shattering shins, pushing flagpoles out of the fields, locking engines to mortar, and blushing with inevitable glory leave. This is a book I did called Sunrise on the Cana Islands. I've read this a few times over the years since I started doing readings again. God, Max Headroom over here, huh? All right. Anyway, this is called Cactus Wren. We were home. We were home to Membrano Apaches. We were home to the Yaquis without walls or laws. For 370 years, they built their temples, traveled as equals, people of the willows. The sun is stronger than the wind. The air was never humid until the irrigation, until the borders. The retirement built from bricks made of clay, the sizzling cast iron, clear chrome eggs. There's an angry rain falling tonight in the desert. Jagged drops splatter in the sand. Bobcats running for cover. Leopard lizard looking for rocks to hide under. There's a lot of people without power. It's called Cheltenham Girl. Like a cloud, beautiful sound, standing before the signal, when the light shines on the ground, it reflects off the wheel. Parking lot next to the short building on the edge of the desert. She sees it's harder to be a number when you're starting as a visitor. Cheltenham Girl. Clouds can't create the shapes they make or hold on to any rain. precious, temporary, holding no domain. No machines, no cell phones or computers, clicking through broken links. Credit card, social security needed. She'll refuse to register. Cheltenham Girl. Every day another wish, another mile, closer to the point where I can portray it. Until then, all I'll do is sing to her spirit. She will return. All right, we should probably wrap this up, huh? Oh, I didn't do. Did you sell the relics? This is the second week. Damn it. I really wanted to read that one. Oh well. There's not enough time now. Next week. I'll have to remember that one. As I'm quite fond of it. Though then again, this has been so glitchy that perhaps this is not it's not the best time to do it. Anyway, this is called Miss You in the Morning. The flashing light on the stove is the first thing I see after I put on my glasses, and then I feel how much I miss you in the morning. I eat breakfast and brush my teeth, wishing that you didn't leave for work before me. Little things you say and do go around in my head while I'm pretending to pay attention to what a coworker is saying while I'm getting coffee, and I'm fully aware of just how much I miss you in the morning. It's only a few more hours until we get to be together every evening and be nearer each day. It's called Honeybee 12345. Like a coral pink butterfly heading to me, you're looking through your jeweled eyes, and I'm waiting for your surprise. A birthday card, an aquarium hung on the wall, a memory in a vein swimming around, arriving late to hear a favorite song, flying, flying like a honeybee that counts the flap of its wings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, keeping everything else alive. Bubbles on the honeycomb coming together in unusually warm weather. Honeybee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, keeping everything else alive. Oh, this is do I want to read this one? Yeah, why not? It's called We Need Another One. I put on a sweater. I walked around outdoors. I went to the mailbox. It was still dark in the morning time. It was still dark in the morning time. The handle felt like cold water in my hand as I looked at window after window. I passed my neighbor and said a brief hello. We talked a little louder because it was still dark in the morning time. I went walking outside, chilly autumn air, in the morning time. In the morning time. This is the point where I feel like I'm just sort of testing people's patience, you know? But that's what I do. I am a patience tester. This is called White Cello. Talk to me. I'm in the open window. I'm not in time, but I've got your watch, and I need to learn to play this white cello. Scratch the surface. I'm on the shore with a can of sugar. It's never bitter. I'd really rather be playing, though, because I like the white strings and the white bow. That's not her. That's her. Was the simplest thing you said today. I'm still reeling with no moments except now. You don't possess any microscope, so I will take the telescope. I'm trying to be angelic, which isn't easy after getting desensitized with disappointments every night, eating fresh vegetables, but planning, and you already know, and then you talk me out of it. You don't have a pistol in your waistcoat, your teeth aren't flecked with flax seeds, my misjudgments are my own, and most are unknown, and just because I'm a pacifist doesn't mean anyone can abuse me. And speaking of myself, Notice me. I'm standing next to the tree where the guy crashed the stolen car, then got out and ran for it, but I can behave for over 100 days, and I've squandered my efforts and so much goodwill that I sometimes still need to convince myself that I should try to take the lessons to play at all. But I'm sure you want me to, and I know what I can do. We're not missing anything. We're humming songs to the phone. We're midnight movers. No, we're not. And don't be the guy on the bike in the right lane racing for his life against rush hour traffic in the morning. I know you are, and you know that I care, and I feel like I'm Clark Kent dressed in primary colors, and I just haven't taken off my glasses yet. She said, as long as it's not evil, and I cannot be evil. Unless, well, not right now at least. It's the rising sun, it's the hard boiled egg, it's basil, it's the blue charm, and I just want to play the white cello, and I just want to sit in a circle and think about it some more. And are we going to wrap this up? Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. It'll be the apex of manifestation, one could say. And this is where we are indeed going to wrap it up. This is going to be the last one. So some of you will already have heard this, and for some it will all be new to you. I'm not going to scream though, so don't worry. But yeah, we'll do one more. This is called Citizenship. Well, it's easy for your mom to spend Friday night trying to lecture the TV while half asleep, continuously saying, let it all breathe, when she's not the one out there braving the wind, trying to walk across that wing with just a 4-foot stick of balsa wood to help keep her balance. The Tsar's personal physician put the head of surgery in bed. He called his staff around and explained this could be the end, but he's not really certain because he's been just too depressed at the prospect. At least that's what you thought, he said. But you were quite distracted by the kissing couple out on the observation deck. And you got yelled at for sleeping during a meeting by the head of marketing, but you didn't feel any guilt as you explained that you'd been sin-free since the night before. And the head of marketing agreed and closed the door to talk about opportunities for advancement. He probably had his hands on your shoulders. And the private still cannot figure out how to break ranks or how to help your mom fill out a loan application or get a new sticker for her license plates. And the two of you prepare for their weekend leave by getting hair extensions and hitchhiking back to the hospital. You've been reading diaries, you've been reading autobiographies, you've been writing long treatises out on graph paper, you've been condescending to your enemies, you've been giving away easy answers that argue that there are no easy answers, you've been running forensics on untabulated statistics, you've been staring at a man buzzsawing down a tree, thinking anyone but me, you've been miming in a marching band, playing a single note all season, you've been looking at the apple in your hand, hoping no you'll find another, and you've stolen mail from your mother. You've been looking at a fence thinking enough of this. You've been back to the hospital staying after hours in the maternity ward, laying newly minted silver rectangles on newborns' chests. You've been counseling dry drunks. You're nearer to sovereignty and whoever picks apples for free. You've been painting large unfinished arcs on your foyer walls while in expensive new clothes. You've been nearer to sovereignty and whoever spreads apple seeds for free. You've been barefoot while feeding skunks. You've been seeing your reflection in cardboard. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching flotsam from Beechcraft Model 18s rotate overhead, amazed how machinery so heavy can defy gravity. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching jettisoned pollution floating in the Indian Ocean in utter disbelief how the laws of nature can be defied so carelessly. You're a wing walker, closer to sovereignty, closer to picking apples for free, closer to crashing the fence, closer to opening books. You are a wing walker trying to make a future full of stars while feeling some affectionate bite marks. You are a wing walker closer to sovereignty, closer to spreading apple seeds for free, closer to swimming naked, closer to learning languages. You are a wing walker trying to make a future full of stars and wishing that you weren't so far. They found me, realistically resembling myself, fully alive in a different year. Questions were drawn to determine how I appeared there. I explained that I went to sleep because I couldn't function being constantly awake. Theta waves turning back on themselves, spindle waves with no chance to crest, and slow waves never close to arriving. A wing walker craves immunity to maintain sovereignty. Theta waves are just the start. Spindle waves stand you straight up, and slow waves safely deposit you back on the shore. A wing walker needs clear vision and to be free of poison, and you have to know where to turn the lights on before you go to sleep. 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 Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go home and go to sleep. And with that, folks, that wraps up another edition of the Quarantine Stream. We hope that you've enjoyed it. God bless. And just to always remember, see you next week by the grace of God. Bye.